I like Mr. Reagan. I do. But he dropped this video, Dear Black People, and as the ebony emissary, I feel it prudent to, be his huckleberry in this situation. So, without further ado, let's get into this.
Dear Black people, you ask us not to judge you by the worst of you, yet you only judge us white people by the worst of us.
Dear Mr. Reagan, to sit there and speak in absolutes in such a manner, because you only judge us by the worst. I judge personally as the emissary, and once again, that does not cover all black people. All right, we are not monolithic. Thusly, like I really feel as if I only have the space to speak for the American descendant. That's it, because that's what I am. I'm an American descendant. That's what's in my blood. But as such, I believe that judging individuals, groups be damned, is a bit far more important, all right?
Dear Black people, it's 2020. No white person in America doesn't think your life matters.
Well, here's the fun part about the whole, oh, life matters thing, is that, if we hear a terrible story, and this is every single one of us, to a man, if we hear a terrible story, we're like, oh, that sucks. We'd like retribution for them. But out of sight, out of mind for the most part, right? So it's like you can't really be angry or upset about things you don't know is happening. And it's not fully your fault if you don't know something's happening, because there's only but so many hours in the day, So let's keep going.
You don't have to join a violent protest movement like Black Lives Matter or Antifa in order to get that message across.
So here's the thing, though. Like, once again, back to the Life Matters thing. We care about our families, right? And that's the most important thing to us. It should be the most important thing to us, is our families. Random go over there, like if it's a terrible tale, sure, but no one's obligated to genuinely care about anyone else. And that's not and that doesn't make you a cruel or a callous person. What it does is just make you someone with priorities, and to what's the name, to pretend as if any of this, Mr. Reagan, has been about black lives is it's a bad call, dude, because many of us, particularly in the dissident community, we saw this charade for what it was. And guess what? It's not just black hands pushing this narrative. It never has just been black hands pushing this narrative. It's always been, it's been a collaborative effort to garner the type of media influence that just the media in general has.
We already know. And you certainly don't need to burn down buildings, tear down statues, or murder anyone. Dear Black people.
Once again, it's not just black people doing these things, Mr. Reagan. Okay? It's a bit of everyone. Like, mainly, Karens. And that, sir, is where you have to come up and say, hey, white woman, the scent stick, right? Give it a scent stick. You gotta pump that common sense into the broad, you know what I'm saying?
You are actually more likely to live through an encounter with police than I am. Dear Black people, you are not oppressed in America. Blacks.
But the deal is that there is a certain coalition, particularly driven by the ideology of intersectionality, that needs to have a victim narrative out there and pushing, because if there is no victim, then there's nothing for Karen to become self-righteous about. You get what I'm saying?
Not disproportionately poor because of racism. Blacks are disproportionately poor because you hate white people.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. So in the example, because this is like some British tea individual. The examples that you're using are once again, paid puppets to spew this type of nonsense, Mr. Reagan. And guess who paying them? If we're so poor, who do you think is paying them?
This is the most violent and oppressive force of nature on Earth. Your culture is broken. It's infected with the disease of racial hatred.
No, it's infected with the disease of ratchet bullshit and gynocentrism and overexposure to the feminine, particularly amongst the masculine, which there's that imbalance within the quote unquote culture, which black hands have not really had a hand in crafting since 1972. Okay. Since the 70s, the culture has been very carefully put in a position to whereas we have those folks like we just bore witness to.
You reject everything you perceive to be white. Black kids are ridiculed if they try to do well in school because that is a white thing.
He's not wrong. I mean, I caught it too. I definitely caught it coming up because I liked school. I like going to class. I like getting good grades and stuff like that. And that's not, sorry, bro, it's not cool. You know what's cool? Not giving up, which is, as we go over on this channel all the time, the anthem.
Rejects proper English. Many young black men dress in a way to threaten and intimidate.
In the 90s, maybe, but I don't know, Mr. Reagan. These 2020 young black men, yeah, they are not intimidating. I'm sorry. I am sorry that they be wearing these pastel colors, all bright and pinks and salmons and stuff. It's like, dude, yeah, no, they're not threatening. They're a lot of them. I mean, make no mistake. I mean, gang life, street shit is still street shit. But I'm talking about, like, just like on average, they're definitely far more effeminate than, let's say, even 20 years ago.
No amount of perceived disrespect can go unchallenged without the threat of violence.
I'll jab your ass in the throat and the nose, so you'll be bloody all over the place.
No company wants to hire anyone with these values.
Well, shoot, like that's the thing. Particularly in urban spaces, it's nothing but chicks. That's why, and there's so many studly type females out there because they needed something to replace the guys with. Because the good die young in the hood. Always been the case. Man, how I must be evil.
Dress well, speak well, encourage your children to study, regardless of your antipathy toward white culture.
That's the thing. Most of these kids, Mr. Reagan, are being raised by single mothers who are overwhelmed, walk around overwhelmed.
Yet, stop being racist. This culture of hate has crippled your people. Your hate is a shackle. And who encourages?
No, that hate is a marketing tool, sir. I'm keeping it a buck with y'all. That hate is a marketing tool. It's easy to sell people on their own victimhood. Particularly when you have a welfare state that kind of reinforces it, where it's all like, oh, the woman's the victim. Oh my goodness, there's so much violence. How do we curb the violence? No one wants to end the drug war. No one wants to go after these family courts and child support laws and make things actually better. So it's all about, all of these different stereotypes, which Mr. Reagan, whether he's aware of it or not, because I can't speak to the man's intent. I do believe he's genuine in his intention. It's just all based on, things that, the media would have you base them on, as opposed to the reality of the scenarios within these communities.
You to hate Democrats. Democrats tell you day after day through the mainstream media that white people are racist against you, that we are the cause of all of your problems.
Oh, sir. That's the thing. This is fairly... it'd be one thing if it was just the mainstream media, but you guys have been with me downtown Newark, right? Like, I have videos up downtown Newark where you got all of these different groups and factions talking about their Africa, the Pan-African stuff, and we were stolen from these lands and all this other nonsense that really, really reverberates and has reverberated since the 60s and the 80s to make those who live in America, who are actually American, actually feel guilt towards that and feel as if there is some form of debt that is owed without paying attention to the fact that all the aforementioned things that I talked about, all those poisons that I talked about via the drug war and the welfare state, that they've been put there specifically because they needed to create these prison farms to keep these communities basically trash. Now, if you escape and you get the hell out, God bless you. Trust me, I did it. It's amazing. But it doesn't fix the problem. Running from these problems doesn't fix them.
They live comfortable lives in nice areas because they're white. And the advantages white people enjoy, the privileges they have, are endless.
Reject this. It is utter nonsense.
Okay, you said the mainstream media, but was that on Fox? I'm just saying.
Take responsibility for your own achievements and for your own shortcomings. Dear Black people, affirmative action is a systemic advantage, and it's a huge one. There are poor young white...
Yeah, huge one for, white women and women who aren't minorities. I mean, affirmative action. Yeah, I'm good with that being knocked off as well, because it's just completely destroyed any reason for a meritocracy. And now you got a whole bunch of people who it's really funny because a lot of the advancements that were made at the blood, sweat, and tears of my forefathers, right? The men of yesteryear, they have been turned on their head and used towards, feminist and the alphabeticals and all this other fun stuff. So at this point, it's just you know what? Yeah, I mean, if you go on just let everybody play, then let it be based on merit. You get what I'm saying? Let it be based on, hey, are you qualified for this? Have you been doing this for a long time? And do you have the skills necessary? And stop basing it on, what's between somebody's legs or what's the color of someone's skin, because you want, as Americans, we should always take pride in the fact that quality was, and I like to believe is a staple of this nation. Back in the day when, cars were made in America or TVs were made in America, they run for forever. Remember your grandma's TV? Your great, it depends on how old you are when you're watching this, but yeah, they used to have these 4 TVs, made of solid oak. You couldn't move them, and I can guarantee you could probably play a PlayStation on them today.
They would love such an advantage, but they aren't given this same opportunity. Dear Black people, it's okay if a white person finds your hair intriguing. It's not a sign of disrespect. Don't be so sensitive.
I've never gotten that, primarily because I always keep my hair cut. I'm a very well groomed individual, so I've never had I've had shag quite a few times, but it's never been oh my goodness, I need to it is what it is. Sure, I like playing in. Oh my goodness, fellas, you know the type of hair that your boy get behind, and it's I'm not going to do it.
Dear Black people, dreadlocks are actually a white thing. Look it up. Dear Black people, white society did not grow rich simply from exploiting your ancestors.
Oh no, there's a whole bunch of exploiting right now, if we want to keep it a buck, with a lot of we've talked. The example that I like to use is the little roses that crackheads use in stores. Somebody has to invest in creating that, and they make a ton of money off of that. So and investments and stuff like that, it's so complicated that attaching race to it is just a distraction. I'll put it to you like that. When it comes to the socioeconomic situation here in the United States, bruh, just completely, you can remove race altogether, because the only color that matters in that world is money, bro.
White society grew rich by creating amazing things for you to enjoy. Instead of considering whites as exploitive, consider us as creators. Look,
I'm more along the lines of a collaborative type deal, because if you make the way particularly patent laws are set up, a lot of the stories that we've gotten about who made what, I'm just, It's here. Thank you. Thanks everybody. I appreciate it. Everybody's contributions. Good look. I'm gonna use it to my advantage now. Thank you.
Around you, almost everything you have was invented by a white person. Electricity, cars, airplanes, indoor plumbing, TV, computers, telephones, cameras, microphones.
Here's the fun part about that is because in order to get to point A, you got to get to point B, right? Like, okay, yeah, sure. You have the cameras, right? But you also need the pieces that go towards making the cameras. We have the PlayStations, right? But they gotta mine what's the names in Africa to go like they gotta mine minerals in Africa to get the element for the chip to create the software. It is there's so many different moving parts that once again it's a mute point to be like, oh well, thank the white man for everything. Like, okay, Uncle Ruckus, like Jesus Christ. It's a little bit like, hey, like, yo, names we'll never know. People we should always just respect because they're no longer here with us, and move along.
Refrigeration, modern clothing, gym equipment, modern farming techniques, the sophisticated trade networks that bring you tropical fruits, sugar, coffee, tea, and exotic spices. And of course, modern medicine. You have all of these things because of white people.
Capitalism. I mean, if we gonna keep it a buck. Capitalism, guys.
You call it oppression. It's not oppression. It's wealth beyond anything the world has ever seen, and you have access to all of it every day. So perhaps
Okay, so this is a mighty fine soapbox that Mr. Reagan made for himself. It really is. It's amazing. Deal is that the opportunities and the environments that many, particularly in the more urban spaces of America, find themselves in is a very specific box, sir. And you're right. The opportunity is there. I am a living testament to that. But what I'm saying is that when you've created these boxes, they were created, to farm people that would have that are emotionally based, feminized to all hell, have absolutely no problem going to prison because we need recidivism and we need that flow going. And is there racism involved in it? To an extent. We all saw The Godfather. Go down to Harlem and sell those niggas the coke, right? But at the same time, to pretend, because I won't. Like, there haven't been black hands that have been just as happy to partake in the destruction of these places and the creation of these prison farms. Well, I ain't gonna do that either, because collaborative efforts are. There was one more point that I had, and it's not coming to me right now. So I think we're good. We're good here. All the internet stuff. If you liked it, toss it a like, dislike. Go ahead and do that too. Nobody's scared of you. Sub. If you enjoy my fantastic voice and want to get videos like this every single day, share, because sharing is caring. And YouTube and Bitchute and like are the biggest fans of your boy over here for very obvious reasons. Bang the bell for notifications and speak. Let me know, what do you guys think in the comments. I appreciate the sentiment, because I do believe Mr. Reagan's sincere. It's so much more nuanced, man. It really is. And I'm not willing to, I don't want to let anybody off the fucking hook if we're going to keep it a buck. I think like to sit here and just like, oh, well, that one group is the problem. That one group, it's not helpful. It's not helpful. At least in my opinion, but you may disagree. And that's what my comment section's for, guys. Until the next one.